3 terrifying true nighttime tales, spine-chilling secrets revealed from the haunted shadows. Laura had always known Cedar Grove was a quiet town, but now that she was back with her kids, the stillness felt almost oppressive. The rickety house her grandmother had left her creaked like it was whispering long-forgotten secrets. As night fell, darkness settled around her, and the old oak trees outside her window loomed like guardians turned grim. Flickering streetlights cast eerie silhouettes that danced just beyond her reach, and a shiver crawled up her spine. With each passing hour, the sounds of crickets outside transformed into an unsettling chorus of whispers, too hushed to decipher yet too loud to ignore. It started with the flickering light sparks mattering off the walls, creating shadows that took on shapes of their own. Outside, Laura spotted a flicker of movement, a shadow passing by her children's bedroom. She told herself it was nothing, a trick of the mind, exhaustion. Maybe it was just the wind. But when she heard a sudden laugh, a childlike giggle that echoed from the neighbor's backyard, her heart raced. Laura felt a tightening in her chest. Who were those shadows? Days bled into darkness, and her children began to act oddly. Emma wandered to the front door every night, her tiny hands grasping the handle, murmuring names Laura didn't recognize. Max insisted he had to play with unseen friends, darting toward the vacant house down the street. "It's calling me, Mommy," he'd insist with a gleam in his eye that terrified her. Doubt began to gnaw at her, a quiet paranoia wrapped around her thoughts like tendrils of smoke. One fateful evening, while delivering pizzas to the neighbors, Laura came across a group huddled in whispering discussion. Their glances darted toward her, eyes wide and haunted. What are they talking about? She wondered, her breath quickening as realization hit. It was about her family. Something deeper than simple gossip festered, a chokehold of fear and silence. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. That night, as darkness swelled around her home, Laura climbed into the attic, seeking answers. An old journal lay untouched among cobwebs and dust, pages yellowed and crinkled. Frantic notes filled its lines, revealing a harrowing family history of rituals meant to call spirits for protection, but at what cost? Goosebumps prickled her skin as the words blurred together, warning her of dark forces inching toward her family. Her heart hammered in her chest as she raced downstairs, determined to confront the whispers around her home. But the chilling realization suffocated her. Her children were gone. She stumbled into silence, the absence of their laughter deafening. The shadows that once comforted her now turned monstrous, her neighbors' faces cast under the spell of deceit. Hands trembling, Laura stood at the threshold of that vacant house, the very shadow that had beckoned Max. As darkness closed in, she faced a question that echoed through her mind. Would she fight the shadows lurking amongst familiar faces, or would she succumb to the nightmare that had stolen her children? The door to the vacant house loomed larger than life, splintered wood that creaked ominously as Laura tested the knob. The chill of the doorknob bit into her palm. Should she enter? She took a step back, but the moment lingered, heavy and tainted, locking her in place. The memories of her children's laughter dashed through her mind, suffocating and urgent. They were in there. Somehow she knew. Taking a deep breath, she twisted the knob and pushed the door open. It creaked with a painful groan, as if warning her of the secrets held within. Inside, the air was stale, filled with the musty scent of decay and whispered tragedies of forgotten past. Dust motes danced in the dim light filtering through grimy windows, caught in a climate of dread. Each step echoed in the silence, like a drumbeat of fear announcing her arrival. The living room lay in disarray, the furniture draped in white sheets, as if it mourned the lost lives of those who once inhabited this space. A large, jagged mirror hung on the wall, cracked and distorted. Laura hesitated as her reflection stared back, disheveled and frantic, eyes wide with terror. Max. Emma. She whispered, her voice a tremor in the stillness. But only silence met her call. A flicker caught her eye. Was it just her imagination? She moved deeper into the house, past the remnants of broken dreams and shattered promises. Every shadow seemed to twist, reaching out to her, yearning to connect but also warning her to stay away. As she entered what appeared to have been a child's room, the air thickened. Dust hung like a shroud, covering faded drawings on the walls depicting joyful days that never came to pass. In the corner, a small wooden box, painted in fraying colors, beckoned. Should she open it? An unsettling curiosity clawed at her stomach. She approached and her fingers trembled as they brushed against the surface. The box creaked open, revealing worn toys and a stack of old photographs. Among them was a faded image of two children, what she hoped to be her own. They stood outside her grandmother's house, smiling, innocence personified. But the background sent chills down her spine. Shadows loomed over them, dark figures with indistinct faces, eyes glimmering with malicious intent. Laura stumbled backward, the air suddenly heavy and oppressive. The shadows from the photographs seemed to shift, elongating as they drew closer. Panic surged through her veins. "Leave this place," a voice echoed, hollow and resonant, reverberating against the walls. She glanced around, her heart racing faster. Who said that? Or was it a figment of her breaking mind? Determined, she sprinted back to the door, but it slammed shut with a deafening crack. The house shuddered as if it too was alive, caught in a frenzy of dark energy. The room's corners grew darker, shadows pulsating with a life of their own. "Max! Emma!" She cried again, desperation rising in her throat, but silence was all that answered, the house closing in, breathing around her. The shadows merged, forming indistinct shapes circling, their whispers rising to a fevered pitch. Then, she saw them, tiny figures caught in the web of darkness, faces obscured but familiar. Her children. They stood just out of reach, held captive by something cold and grasping. "Mommy!" Max screamed, his voice slipping away as the shadows began to engulf him. "No!" Laura lunged forward, but the darkness wrapped around her limbs, pulling her back. Fingers clawing at her throat, she gasped for air as a light flickered in the distance. But what was it? Hope? Or a trap waiting to ensnare her next? With the walls closing in around her, Laura faced her greatest fear. Could she save her children from the consuming darkness, or would she too be lost to the shadows forever? Laura's heart pounded in her chest as the shadows twisted tighter around her. The panicked screams of Max echoed in her ears, drowning out the whispers of the house. "No, no. I won't let you take them," she screamed, her voice raw and desperate. She fought against the darkness gripping her limbs, clawing to break free. With one frantic push, she thrust her body toward the flickering light at the end of the hallway, a beacon amidst the engulfing gloom. The darkness hissed and recoiled, momentarily freeing her from its grasp. She sprinted forward, her breath ragged. The walls seemed to shift and sway as if the house itself was alive and conspiring against her. She could hear her children's voices, faint and distorted, trapped in a nightmarish echo. "Mommy!" they cried, the sound pulling her further into the heart of the house. Her mind was racing, the cold sweat sticking to her skin. As she reached the room at the end of the hallway, the light blazed bright before her. But it wasn't the sweet glow of hope she had imagined. It was harsh and invasive, revealing every cracked wall and peeling paper, leaving no shadow unturned. In the center of the room sat a wooden chair, ominous and inviting, adorned with ropes twisted like serpents, each one coiled tightly as if anticipating a sacrifice. Laura froze, the air thick with a potent mix of terror and resolve. "What is this?" she stammered to herself, stepping back instinctively. The whispers floated through the air once more, clearer now, calling out to her with chilling familiarity. "Help us, Mommy!" "Max! Emma!" she shrieked, as dread filled her chest. The shadows roiled at the edges of her vision, their dark tendrils reaching out toward her, beckoning her to come closer. Suddenly, memories bubbled to the surface, moments that made her heart ache, laughter, warmth, bedtime stories spun from imagination. She turned her back on the chair, ready to dash through the door to search for her children, but the room shuddered violently. The door slammed shut, sealing her inside. A bone-chilling realization crept over her: the house wanted her to choose. "Stop this. Let them go," she demanded, her voice trembling as she fought back tears. The shadows thickened, swirling violently, and then they parted, revealing fragments of her children's laughter. Images danced before her: Max and Emma, their eyes wide with mirth, surrounded by darkness, always just out of reach. "Join us, we can play forever." Panic surged through her veins. Uncertainty gnawed at her. "What do you want from me?" she yelled into the suffocating gloom. "Your love. We need you," the whispers chorus, haunting and hypnotic. "Let go of your fear, and you will find us." The walls vibrated with the resonance of their voices. She could feel her resolve faltering, like brittle glass ready to shatter. The choice lay heavy on her: embrace the shadows to rescue her children, or be trapped forever in the limbo of their torment. Suddenly, the mirror from the living room flashed before her eyes, an image mirroring her own torment. The reflection twisted as her own face morphed into one of despair. Would she become a shadow herself? Laura squeezed her eyes shut, gathering every ounce of strength. "No," she gasped, "I won't lose you. Not to this darkness." With a surge of desperate energy, she lunged for the source of the light, determined to reclaim her children from the haunting whispers, to break the cycle. But as she reached out, the world around her blurred, and the shadows closed in tight, their laughter echoing in her ears. "Mommy! Help us!" With one final breath, the light engulfed her, and then everything went dark. Was she too late? Could she still save them? Were they lost forever to the shadows? Darkness enveloped Laura like a shroud, smothering her in an icy grip. She blinked rapidly, the absence of light disorienting. Silence pressed heavily against her, thick as fog. Memories of her children flickered at the edge of her consciousness, drawing her closer to the brink of despair. Max, Emma, her calls cracked, echoing into the void. Then, just as suddenly as it descended, the shadows parted, revealing a scene that twisted her stomach into knots. She was standing in what seemed to be the living room of her home. It looked familiar yet grotesquely distorted, the furniture warped, colors bleached. In the corner, she saw the mirror, its glass rippling like the surface of a disturbed lake. Desperation clawed at her throat as she approached, feeling an inherent dread as she peered into it. The reflection wasn't hers anymore. Two pale faces stared back at her: Max and Emma, their wide eyes glistening with tears. They were reaching out, mouths moving, but no sound came from them, just an echoing void filled with their silent pleas. "Mommy! No! No!" she screamed, battering the wall of fear that enveloped her. They were real, she could feel them, sense their presence even amidst the nightmarish landscape. "Mommy, help us!" they cried again, the urgency in their eyes igniting a firestorm of anxiety in her chest. "Where are you?" Laura yelled, her voice cracking under the weight of raw terror. She moved closer, but the mirror pulsated, a surface trickling with dark oil. As she reached out, it rippled violently, and a new image formed: a glimmering door just behind them leading out of the house. "Come to us, Mommy," Max whispered, his voice hushed but echoing as if carried by the wind. "No!" She yanked her hand away, grappling with the force that told her to stay, to surrender. "I won't lose you. I will not let this house take you." The room trembled, walls vibrating violently. Suddenly, the plush armchair cracked and splintered, grotesque faces emerging from the wood, wailing a chorus of agony. "Join us in the dark," they moaned, their screams rising into a cacophony that resonated deep within her bones. Panic surged once more, releasing another wave of memories. Laughter over family dinners, stories shared with love, fleeting moments where fear had no dominion. She felt this energy coiling within, ready to unleash against the darkness. But a sudden crash broke through the chaos, the door to the living room splintered open. A grotesque figure slithered through the threshold, its eyes glowing a void of relentless hunger. "No more games, Laura," it hissed, voice like gravel scraping against metal. "The final choice awaits you. Get away from them." She shouted through gritted teeth, summoning the last remnants of her strength. The figure chuckled darkly, advancing, shadows clinging to it like a second skin. "You must decide, your heart or your soul, choose wisely." The children's cries erupted in terrifying shrieks, pulling at her heart. "Mommy! Help us!" Laura stepped back, the weight of the decision crashing down. If she plunged into the shadows now, would they be free? Would they be lost forever? The walls seemed to pulse with her heartbeat, a sinister rhythm echoing her torment. Her fate, their fate, collided in a harrowing clash of light and dark. As the figure loomed ever closer, its form a mass of swirling despair, a flash of hope ignited in her heart. "I will not surrender," she screamed, the words firm and resolute. But just before she could make her move, the mirror shattered, a shower of glass glittering in the dim light. What lay beyond? Would the light cast out the shadows, or would she fall into the depths of torment? In that haunting moment, the air crackled with tension, a reckoning drawing near. Shards of glass scattered across the floor, catching the feeble light and throwing it back at her in a mosaic of agony. The air shifted, thickening with the weight of despair. Laura felt a pulse deep within her, each heartbeat a challenge against the encroaching dread. The figure halted, its gaze fixating on the broken mirror. "Curious, aren't we?" it mused, an edge of malice creeping into its tone. "You think slicing the surface changes anything? They are still trapped, and so are you." "Shut up." Laura shot back, her voice brittle. She backed away, adrenaline coursing through her veins, fueling her resolve. The children were still there, their faces fading in and out of clarity, lost between worlds. All around her, the house creaked and groaned in response to the entity's presence. Just beyond the mirror's sorrows, something shifted, a subtle illumination. She remembered the door. The faint outline glimmered like a distant star, calling her with renewed urgency. However, the figure hissed, "That one take you closer to salvation. It will only plunge you into a darker maze." "Then I'll go there," Laura whispered, her breath shaky but laced with determination. She anticipated the coming storm, the tempest of shadows swirling around her. With every ounce of strength, she lunged towards the door, willing herself to cross the threshold, but as she reached for it, a clawed hand shot out, gripping her wrist like iron. Panic shot through her veins as she gasped. The figure leaned closer, its presence suffocating. "You can't escape this, Laura. The darkness will always follow you. Your heart is a beacon, and they will always be drawn to it. Let me go." She roared, wrenching herself free, sending shockwaves through the room. The figure staggered, its surprise a brief window. It had underestimated her. In that fleeting moment, Laura's eyes locked onto Max and Emma. They were pleading, reaching out with small hands, eyes wide with hope. "Mommy, please." They cried, riddled with desperation. She made a choice, not just to run but to fight. Grabbing a shard of the fractured mirror, she turned back to face the shadowy figure. "If I have to choose, I choose them." The entity recoiled, its laughter turning to rage. "You think it's that simple? You're merely extending their suffering. I don't care." She thrust the shard forward, the light from the shattered mirror refracting into a dizzying array. Shadows twisted, shrunk back, and the air grew brittle with tension. The walls shuddered, as if the very house responded to her surge of will. "Get away from my children!" she screamed again, voice breaking free from fear. A tempest of light enveloped her, tendrils of brightness breaking the oppressive darkness. The figure shrieked in fury, its form flickering like a faulty light bulb. With each step closer to the door, the shadows writhed, trying to tear her away, but the door was right there, crackling with the promise of deliverance. A final push grounded her resolve. She launched herself toward it, slicing through the dark. All of a sudden, the door slammed shut, the lurching figure screaming behind her. The wall pulsed one last time, trying to drag her back, but she pushed harder, feeling the warmth of the yearning hearts she'd fight for surround her. The moment she crossed the threshold, light enveloped her. Yet as it enveloped her, another thought clawed its way into her mind. Was it truly over? A new realm spread before her, surreal yet eerily familiar. Echoes of laughter twisted in the wind, layered with an undertone of grief. But as darkness closed in around her, a shadow swept past, whispering her name as it taunted her with promises. "Welcome back, Laura. You're not free yet." Fear clutched at her once more. A new nightmare had only just begun. Laura stumbled into the new realm, breath caught in her throat. The laughter, once sweet, now echoed like a warning bell. Each chuckle morphed into a haunting specter, swirling around her like smoke, tugging at the edges of her sanity. She felt disconnected, suspended between reality and a nightmare, the lines blurring ever more. "Where are you?" she shouted, her voice cracking. Was she still inside the house? Shadows writhed like snakes in the corners of her eyes, enticing her to look away, to give in to the darkness once again. The ground beneath her felt soft, shifting, as if it could swallow her whole. A sudden chill slithered down her spine. It was as if the laughter had teeth sharp, hungry, and waiting. She pushed through the veil of shadows, her heart racing. There had to be a way out. Max and Emma were counting on her. As she moved deeper into the realm, the laughter subsided, replaced by a low murmur. Voices whispered secrets wrapped in fear. "Behind you, don't look there." Watching panic gripped her chest. She turned her head quickly, catching fleeting glimpses of what lurked behind her. Faces twisted in torment, mouths opening and closing in silent screams. "No!" she cried out, forcing herself to keep moving. Each step felt heavier, the shadows gripping her ankles, dragging her down. Thoughts of Emma and Max fueled her, but every reminder brought with it a rush of despair. Were they okay? Did they understand what was happening? She broke through the shadows into a clearing, a cold, empty space bathed in dim light. Wind whistled through the air, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and decay. In the center stood a twisted tree, its gnarled branches reaching towards the sky like skeletal claws. Black flowers, as dark as the void, grew from its roots, pulsating faintly as if breathing. "Laura," a voice slithered through the air, sultry and inviting. It sent shivers down her spine. "You've returned to us to save them." Her breath quickened. She knew that voice. Every fiber of her being screamed to leave, yet a part of her was drawn in. "Who are you?" "Consider me an ally," it replied, stepping from behind the tree. A figure cloaked in shadows emerged, its features obscured, but a pair of bright eyes glinted like polished stones. "I know how to save your children." Laura hesitated. Every instinct screamed against trusting whatever dwelled here. "What do you want in return?" A chilling smile answered her question, sending ice coursing through her veins. "Just a taste of your fear and one little favor." "What kind of favor?" "I need you to make a choice, Laura. To either help them escape or join them in a prison of your own design." She inhaled sharply. The weight of the world settled on her shoulders. How could she choose tonight? Her children or her own chance at freedom? Suddenly, the shadows moved, swirling and tightening around her. "Time is running out." The voice sang, almost gleefully. "Choose before the dawn breaks or lose everything." Desperation flooded her mind. The laughter returned, rising in a crescendo as her heart raced, pulsing louder, faster, like an ominous drum signaling the end. Bound by fear, she took a step towards the dark figure. "I will save them," she whispered, each word a promise wrapped in uncertainty. But as she spoke, the darkness cocooned her, and she felt the shadows seeping into her skin. Do it, the cloaked figure hissed, its eyes dancing with malice. Embrace the darkness, and freedom will be yours. As the last syllable fell from its lips, Laura found herself once again at the threshold of the darkness, staring into the void where her children's pleas echoed faintly. The realm had morphed into a swirling tempest of light and dark, each flicker urging her to choose. Could she invoke the light one more time, or was it too late? The shadows constricted around Laura, clutching like cold fingers around her limbs as she teetered on the brink of despair. Her mind spun in a chaotic dance, caught between the demands of the cloaked figure and the desperate cries of Max and Emma. Time was slipping away. Choose. The figure urged, its voice an echo of each jagged thought racing through her mind. Laura's heartbeat thundered, drowning out the whispers of the trapped souls lingering in the shadows. Behind her eyes, visions of her children flashed like lightning: laughter in the park, bedtime stories, stolen moments of joy. They deserved better than this haunted place. A burst of warmth ignited deep within her. Was it hope or madness? She clenched her fists, the soft petals of the black flowers grazing her skin, cold and clammy, slithering frustration into her resolve. I will save them, she shouted defiantly. The moment the words left her lips, the shadows recoiled as if struck. No! The figure shrieked, its eyes narrowing, flaring with a malevolent glow. You've already made your choice. A wall of darkness surged forward, a wave of palpable terror pushing back against her. Laura felt her breath catch again, the invisible weight of dread clamping around her throat. She stumbled back, blood pounding in her ears as countless tortured faces emerged from the dark, pressing in on her, their silent screams echoing painfully in her mind. Let go, Laura. The figure hissed, spreading its shadowy arms wide, the darkness around it swirling like a tempest. Embrace your fear. It will be your greatest weapon and your only salvation. The laughter returned, sharp and piercing, swirling in a chaotic torrent, piercing her defenses. Each chuckle mocked her fear, exposed her vulnerability. She could feel her heart racing, each beat threatening to explode. Battle it. A primal scream echoed in her chest, inseparable from her will to fight. She felt the darkness trying to infiltrate her thoughts, clawing at the edges of her sanity. Her vision began to blur, sinking deeper into the chaos. Panic surged, a visceral reaction she couldn't contain. She couldn't let fear consume her. Enough! She bellowed. It was a declaration, a challenge. With every ounce of her strength, she envisioned her children, the purity of their smiles, the innocence still left in their hearts. They needed her. The shadows paused, hesitating as if sensing her resolve. She seized the moment and focused, willing light to pour from within, pushing back the darkness. You will not take them. The air around her shimmered, warping reality, her fear turning into a beam of defiance that shot through the oppressive gloom. The cloaked figure snarled, losing its form as the light pulsed and flickered. For an instant, the oppressive weight began to lift, a brightness seeping into the edges of her mind, igniting hope. But just as quickly, the shadows retaliated, roaring back, fiercely trying to extinguish her fire. Laura! The voices screamed again: Max, Emma, echoing with a desperation that turned her blood cold. Help us. Please. Every instinct screamed at her, the pull of love mingling dangerously with fear. Would the darkness extinguish her light, or could she forge a path through the chaos and save her children? Fight for them. A voice within cried out, rising from the depths of her heart. She strained against the shadows tugging at her, igniting her spirit into a blinding blaze, but reality wavered. Just beyond her grasp danced fleeting shades of doubt, one piercing statement cutting through the chaos: if you succeed, will there be a price? The question hung heavy. What could she face if she won this battle? Was she ready to pay for this salvation? As the darkness roared back, the storm within her raged on, threatening to consume not just the shadows but her very soul as well. Would she prevail or collapse in this fight against despair? The laughter continued, teasing her resolve as her heartbeat echoed the rhythm of an impending climax, imploring her to choose fight or flight, light or dark. As chaos swirled, one thought loomed large. What would she have to sacrifice to unleash her strength? Would she lose herself to save her children, or would the shadows claim them all? Laura's heart raced as she pulled the remnants of her resolve tight around her. Each agonizing scream from Max and Emma twisted her insides like a knife. The shadows swirled around her, a tempest of despair and malice that clawed at her mind. She couldn't let them falter, she couldn't abandon them. Focus, Laura. She whispered to herself, pushing against the encroaching darkness. This time would be different. She would harness that glimmer of light she felt, that warmth pulling at her core. It was a lifeline, and she would not let it slip away. With every ounce of determination, she pulled memories of her children, of laughter and light, into the forefront of her mind. Their faces flickered like images in a film, every smile, every hug, every trivial moment now charged with a desperate energy. The darkness recoiled, and for a split second, she felt almost powerful. "Get back!" she shouted, her voice rising against the ocean of night. A surge of energy coursed through her, igniting the air with a faint glow. The shadows hesitated, recoiling like a beast that had just tasted a bitter poison, but the cloaked figure advanced. Its eyes blazed with fury, mirroring a darkness that threatened to warp her very soul. "You think you can fight me?" it hissed, the sound a cacophony of agony. "You don't know the cost." Darkness writhed, carving strange patterns in the air, and suddenly her surroundings twisted. The ground felt like it was shifting beneath her feet. She stumbled, realization dawning on her this was not just a physical battle. It was a fight for her sanity. "Your children are here," the figure taunted, its voice now echoing in cruel unison with a congregation of anguished breaths. "They will beg for you. Just like they begged when you left them when you ran." "No!" she cried, the accusation cutting deeper than any knife ever could. She gripped her head, trying to suppress the memories they brought, like whispers sneaking through the cracks of her defenses. Doubts wrapped around her mind like chains, and for a moment, she hesitated. Her light flickered, then, as if orchestrated, the shadowy shapes of Max and Emma appeared, their hands reaching out from the darkness. "Mom! Help us!" They were stained with terror, their faces pale, their voices empty echoes of innocence. "No! Not like this!" The thought of losing them sent shockwaves through her. The warmth that once grew inside now felt like a distant ember. "Get away from them!" she shouted, her voice hoarse. In a fit of strength, she pushed against the dark with all her might. The shadows shrieked as she fought back, but just as quickly as she built her defiance, the dark retaliated, swirling closer, suffocating her light. With every ounce of hope she poured into the fight, an equal amount of despair wrapped around her heart like a vice. Suddenly, she understood the figure wasn't just a manifestation of darkness, it was a reflection of her past choices, her unresolved guilt swarming into reality. In that gut-wrenching clarity, she grasped the meaning behind the cloaked figure's words. "What price do you demand?" Laura gasped, the realization crashing like waves upon the shore of her soul. The figure's laughter filled the air, a sinister melody that echoed around her. "All burdens come at a cost. Can you afford it?" Her children's screams rang in her ears. The chant of despair grew louder, wiping away her thoughts like a tide erasing footprints in the sand. "What do I have to lose?" The question haunted her, merging with her turmoil, and then, just as she thought she was on the precipice of understanding, a blinding darkness surged forward, snatching her breath. Her heart stopped, and the grip of fear suddenly locked down. She was helpless, dangling on the edge of a cliff now, the shadows threatening to pull her in. Would she find the way out or be swallowed whole? The storm raged on, and Laura knew she had to dive deeper into her own fears to reclaim control. But what awaited her if she did? Would peace ever return, or was this only the beginning of a more terrible test? The darkness closed in, heavy and suffocating, as Laura felt its grip tighten around her heart. She gasped for air, her lungs constricting as if the shadows themselves were coiling tighter. Everything around her pulsed with an unnatural energy, a throbbing rhythm that mirrored the frantic beat of her heart. Panic rose in her throat, a bitter taste that filled her senses. Max! Emma! She screamed, the names tearing from her lips like a lifeline tossed into the storm. Their faces twisted in her mind, ghostly reflections begging for rescue. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown, the shadows counting down to some unimaginable doom. The cloaked figure loomed closer, its form shifting like smoke, taunting her with every step. "You can't escape the past," it taunted, a chilling whisper that lingered in the between spaces of her thoughts. "You'll pay for your sins, Laura." Her mind flashed to memories of those terrible days, the moments of fear and doubt that had birthed her guilt. The hollow ache of abandonment clawed deeper within her. The shadows wove together roots of shame and regret, twisting them into the very fabric of her reality. She struggled, digging her fingernails into her palm, chasing the reminder of warmth that lingered in the recesses of her heart. "Please no," she begged, the desperate plea spirited away by the swirling winds of despair. Every scream of her children felt like a dagger, stabbing relentlessly at her resolve. She could almost hear their voices clearer now, their cries wrapping around her like a vice. They were here, hidden within the shadowy corners of her mind, trapped in a realm she had created with every choice she had ever made. A flicker of defiance ignited within her, fueled by their desperate faces. "I will fight you," she roared, the sound reverberating like thunder, solidifying her determination. "You can't have them." With each word, tendrils of light flickered to life, illuminating the darkness in fleeting bursts. The shadows recoiled, hissing like angry serpents, angry with her honesty, her strength. "You fight against yourself." The figure shrieked, its voice breaking, echoing as a chorus of agony filled the air. "Can you truly face what you've done?" And in that moment, clarity pierced through her fears like a ray of light. "I ran to protect them," she screamed, her voice cracking. I thought it was best." The shadows twisted, a chaotic dance of descent. They surged forward, cold and hard, striking like icy fingers against her skin. "You thought wrong," it howled, their truth a tempest of fury. Reality wrapped around her like a thick fog, warping everything into dread. Memories poured in like a torrential downpour, sweeping away her resolve. She stumbled, caught in a deluge of regrets. Out of the haze, a glimmer of movement drew her gaze. Max and Emma's figures danced at the edges of the darkness, their forms flickering in and out like signals struggling through interference. "Mom! Save us!" they cried, their voices haunting and broken. Laura lunged forward, desperate, but the shadows snapped around her, holding her in place. "You have to face the truth. Only then can you save them." With every ounce of might, she fought against the binding chains of her past, riding the wave of pain that crashed into her. She was ready to confront whatever awaited her. And then, just as she steeled herself for the revelations to come, the shadows dispersed, revealing a hidden door, a portal pulsing with an eerie light that beckoned her forward. "What lies beyond?" she whispered, fear clawing at her throat. With hesitant determination, Laura took a step towards the door, her breath hitching in her chest. What she might find could be salvation or could lead to something worse. The figure's laughter rang in her ears, promising that the truth would demand a heavier toll than she could bear. What would it cost her to finally confront the darkness? As she reached for the door, she felt a chilling gust sweep past her, leaving her breathless. Would she truly unravel the knots of her past, or would it lead her down a path from which there was no return? Laura felt the weight of the darkness bearing down on her. Memories of her children squeezed her heart like a vice, their faces hovering in her mind, desperate for release. She stepped toward the pulsing door, hesitant yet fierce with purpose. Whatever lay beyond, she had to know. The shadows writhed, sensing her resolve. They hissed warnings, but she was undeterred. "I won't be afraid anymore," she declared, pushing the door open with a heavy shove. Light poured through as she crossed the threshold, illuminating a vast expanse. For a moment, she felt warmth wash over her, embracing her in a cocoon of hope. Yet, as she stepped fully inside, the light warped, twisting into ghostly figures watching her closely, those trapped souls. Their silent pleas tugged at her heart. "Mommy!" came Max and Emma's voices, echoing through the corridors of her mind. "Help us! Where are you?" Laura shouted, fear lacing her words as she spun around, searching for the source of the cries. Suddenly, dark tendrils lashed out, wrapping around her legs like icy chains. "You think you can escape?" the cloaked figure roared, now larger, more menacing. "You belong to me, just as they do." "No!" Laura screamed, digging deep for that flicker of light inside her. With sheer determination, she ripped through the thick shadows binding her. She focused on her children's laughter, their smiles bathed in sunshine, lost moments she would do anything to reclaim. As she breathed deeply, the light within her flared, igniting the dark scenery around her. The figure shrieked, throwing its hands up in a futile attempt to shield itself. Shadows scrambled to retreat, morphing into cobwebs in the blaze of her inner fire. "Leave them alone!" Laura cried, her voice resonating. She could see her children now, flickering hazily at the edge of the light. Their forms solidified, growing clearer with each step she took toward them. With a final surge of conviction, she lunged into the heart of the brightness. Her children appeared fully before her, arms outstretched. "Mommy!" they shouted, tears of relief streaming down their cheeks. Laura enveloped them in an embrace, her heart swelling with the force of love. "I'm here. I'm here!" she cried, feeling the shadows disintegrate around them as their warmth suffused her soul. Yet the cloaked figure drew closer, its shadow darkening. "You can't escape the price," it screeched, thrashing in rage. "You still owe. Come with us," her children urged. They began pulling her toward a shimmering veil of light. Laura's heart ripped as she glanced between her children and the encroaching darkness. The choice was almost unbearable. "I won't sacrifice my heart for a past that haunts me," she declared boldly. "You don't own me, or my love." In that moment of unyielding strength, the shadows shrieked, a horrible cacophony vibrating in her bones. The light surged, breaking apart the dark figure into a billion fragments. The room around them began to ripple and distort. With the final burst of energy, Laura and her children leapt toward the pure light, shattering the old reality. A sudden brilliance enveloped them. Gasps of fresh air came rushing in, and as they opened their eyes, they found themselves back in the living room of their home. Sun streamed through the windows, igniting the space with warmth and color. "Mommy! We did it!" Emma exclaimed, bouncing on her toes. Max interjected, grinning, "You saved us. The shadows are gone." Tears of relief streamed down Laura's face as she knelt to embrace them. "We did it together," she whispered, the heaviness in her heart beginning to lift. A sense of peace settled over their small family. No longer hunted by shadows, they were free. Chest tightening with emotion, Laura held them close, feeling the weight of their laughter fill the room. But a faint whisper brushed her ear, a soft reminder of the toll. The haunting echoes of the past would never truly disappear, but she would face them, stronger now with her children at her side. Together, she promised, finding strength in their unity. As they stepped outside, hand in hand, the bright sky welcomed them. Together they would write a new story, one of light and love. Remember to hit that subscribe button for more heart-pounding tales that keep you on the edge of your seat. Don't miss out. Smash that like button now, and let us feed the algorithm together. Your voice matters, so flood the comments with your reactions and theories about Laura's journey. And this is important, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who crave great stories. You need to support the channel like a true fan. Every click counts, and you're part of this journey. Don't wait even one more second.